Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 811 for the 14th of May for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. And the special military operation, which is ridiculously special, is still ongoing, and there is frontline changes reports. So we have frontline changes over Lyptsi, Lukyantsi, Buhruvatka, Tykhe, Vovchansk, Tykhe, Kalinina, and Krasnohorivka. So these are the frontline changes. We will do the frontline changes, then we'll do strategy and tactical reporting where we talk about all the things that has been happening over the past 24 hours. So stay tuned. And do press the like button, subscribe, and check out all the different channels DPA have. And we're gonna start off with Lyptsi over at the Kharkiv Front. So according to the Russian mapping, there is expansion of the fighting, and they claim that the fightings have arrived at the Dacha region north of Lyptsi. So this is the current situation. The Russians have already penetrated into the Dacha region of Kliboke. So we will continue to monitor. Not sure how far they actually gone, because in the Russian mapping, they put a big icon on the map, then it blocks off a lot of the mapping, so I can't really see. So this is the estimated one. So the next frontline change is over at Lukyantsi. So based on the geolocation of Ukrainian forces, their position getting airstrike by Russian forces, this shows that the Ukrainians actually have presence along this tree line. If you zoom in, you can see that this is actually a tree line. There's a important junction over there. Ukrainian forces entrenched this area here, so they are still there. So which means that the Russians did not capture this part, despite the mapping from both sides showing that this is actually under Russian control. So poor soldiers stay there, but nobody acknowledged their existence. So the next frontline change is over at Buhruvatka. So at Buhruvatka, there is geolocations showing Russian forces have already entered into the settlement itself. Two different junctions show have Russian presence, which means the Russians have already penetrated into this settlement, and they are probably on the at this moment already expanding their control over at Buhruvatka. I suspect that there will be very minimal resistance at this settlement. So I think that this settlement will fall within the next 24 to 48 hours, because this is just a ridiculously difficult place to reach. So, and to be honest, Kharkiv Front is actually a very difficult front to defend for the Ukrainians. So when the Russians retreated from this area here, it might look like a massive victory for the Ukrainians, but honestly, what happened is that it actually lengthened the front line by way more than just the circumference of the front. Because if you look at the road networks, you'll probably be able to see. So study the map a bit. So the Russian forces have expanded their control around this area here based on Ukrainian mapping. And of course, the geolocations show that the Russian forces have penetrated through. They have placed a lot of the locations based on Ukrainian mapping as gray zones, as they do not want to acknowledge Russian presence in those Russian control in those regions. They only acknowledge the presence. So we will continue to wait and see how this develops. So far, Ukrainian mapping that have not acknowledged Russian side mapping eventually still corroborates it. So they will catch up with reality. So the next frontline change is just next door over at So anyway, this is based on Ukrainian mapping as well, as they disclaim this entire portion of region. They claim now this is now under Russian control. It's not to the extent of where the Russians have claimed, but is as far as they can accept to admit, because Russian forces has been geolocated in these various locations, including here. So this is based on the previous one, and previous one I did not manage to do this claim of Ukrainian position mapping, because I'm not really sure, because the divide is too big. The difference between the two mapping is too big. But today we have this acknowledgement. So the Russian forces, according to the Ukrainians, have actually penetrated into the into this northern part of Vovchansk, and they are going to continue to expand their control. According to reports of the video footage coming from this region here, Russian forces seems to be very relaxed. It seems like there is not a lot of resistance. They are walking through the city largely. There is not a lot of resistance around this area, so I'm expecting that the Russians will continue to expand control. So I will talk more about this in the strategy and tactical reporting. For Kharkiv Front will be the first. So stay tuned if you are interested more about the Kharkiv Front. Then the next front line change is over here at Tykhe. This is a forced one because of the geolocation of Russian forces. So Russian forces is now geolocated right on the western part of Tykhe, which means that the Ukrainian mapping have no choice. I'm going to invalidate their mapping. I basically drew it this way because most likely this area here cannot have Ukrainian forces. It's just not possible. So yeah, but I draw it this way. I believe that the Ukrainian mapping will catch up for sure, 100%, because of these are geolocations. So geolocations, eventually Deep State UA will have to acknowledge the frontline change. So we will definitely continue to monitor. So these are just invalidation of Ukrainian claims. So the next frontline change is over at Kalinina, over at the Bakhmut Front. This is Bakhmut city. And so according to the Ukrainian mapping, Russian forces have continue to expand their control in the southern part of Buhruvatka, very close to Kalinina. Previously, Russian forces are geolocated basically in Kalinina already. So the Russians are just expanding their control around this area here, most likely to find a better defensive position or something, or just a probing attack just to draw the Ukrainians in. That's also a possibility. And the last frontline change is over at Krasnohorivka. So over Krasnohorivka, just a very slight change. Ukrainian mapping have disclaimed a little bit more, just a little bit more of the front line. So Russian forces are still putting pressure from the east. And so far, there's not a lot of frontline changes left. It's just this little bit. So that's all for the frontline changes report. And we go into the strategy and tactical reporting. And first thing first, we will go to the Kharkiv Front, where the Kharkiv offensive is currently ongoing. Russian forces is currently attacking in various sectors. They're attacking through the direction of Lyptsi, Nakushny, Zaporizhzhia, Vovchansk. So these are the various direction, and of course on the eastern part of Vovchansk, which is actually a pincer on Vovchansk itself. So these are the general arrows, the big arrows in this Kharkiv offensive. There is a possible of a push over in this Avdiivka direction, but it cannot be verified at this moment. After the initial days report from the Russian side, it's currently in limbo because there's totally no reports. No one talks about it. So they might not have happened around here. So we go into details. The Russian forces are over at this Lyptsi and Nakushny sector. Russian forces are continuing the expansion of their control over at Hliboke. They are still fighting over at Lukyantsi, despite the Ukrainians mapping showing that Lukyantsi has fallen. According to Ryba, they are still fighting. They say that the Russian forces only just reached the outskirts and just entered the territory. So this is a huge divide between the realities. And at the Zeleny region is particularly confusing because previously DPA UA said that the Zeleny is actually under Ukrainian control. However, Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned that there is an attack advance towards Nakushny, which is weird which means that there is actually an attack ongoing. It's not as quiet as the Deep State UA has said, based on their say that they simply because of no communication for a long time, so they thought that the enemy has captured the village. So it's kind of weird. And Ryba actually reported that the fighting is actually at Zeleny. So we're not sure exactly what's happening. There is a massive fog of war around here. We'll definitely continue to monitor and see how this progress. Of course, the geolocation show the Ukrainian forces actually is still defending this open area here, punctuated by some tree lines. However, Russians are pushing in this direction from Buhruvatka towards the south of Nakushny, which is actually Vasily. So this is actually reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry themselves. Of course, if you want to read the details of all the sources, all the information, you can check out this mapping over on the Defense Politics Asia website. defensepoliticsasia.com/Ukraine. You can also find the link in the description below if you want to access this mapping. And if you can also pull up the mapping. If you have two screens, like me, I have multi screens on my computer. You can actually look at the mapping while listen to me talk. You can actually have a more interactive experience to see what the hell is happening, rather than getting subjugated by my by my control of the mapping. So moving on over at the other sector, over the Zaporizhzhia sector of the Kharkiv offensive, the Russian forces have entered into Buhruvatka. This is confirmed by geolocation, and the likelihood is that Buhruvatka is going to fall very, very soon. Russian forces is going to take control of parts of this Siversk Donetsk River, and they're going to pincer the Ukrainian forces that is defending Zaporizhzhia, as the Russian forces are pushing in from the north. So with this, Zaporizhzhia is likely to fall also, very soon. And the Russian forces can then go down the river and attack Haravsky or Grafsky, and then actually hit to the rear, to cut off reinforcement and resupply towards Vovchansk, giving Vovchansk a better chance of capture by the Russian forces, as the fighting is currently happening over at Vovchansk. So things are rather bad. I'm not sure how much Ukrainian forces actually can spare in this Kharkiv front, because these are operational secrets. Nobody actually knows how much Ukrainian troops actually in reality there is. So a lot of rumors going around in all sort of numbers depending on who you ask. So based on my sources, things are also very bad in terms of manpower. But no, bad manpower doesn't mean no manpower. There can still be a lot of people that can be deployed to the Kharkiv front. So the question is how much. I have also no idea, and how well trained are they? What kind of equipment do they possess? We're not sure. So, and whether do the military leadership of the Ukrainian side have the will to defend this area remains to be seen. So if they don't plug the hole, the Russians are going to start to rout the Ukrainian forces. So, and they just need to capture some very strategic places, and then they will start to rout the Ukrainian forces, which is going to be very bad, and very bad for PR. So we're going to carry on from this area here. This is the Zaporizhzhia sector. We move into the Vovchansk sector. So at the Vovchansk sector, Russian forces have been further geolocated in many locations. This forced the Ukrainian mapping to acknowledge that the Russian forces have good advance around this area here, and definitely got down the highway from Tykhe. And another geolocation west of Tykhe also confirmed the Russian presence over at Tykhe region. However, it's not sure how I'm going to map the Ukrainian side, so I only drew it in this way. So awaiting corroboration from the Ukrainian side, because usually geolocation will definitely be reflected on Deep State UA's mapping. So we're just going to wait for it. So far, but I think so far the RIBA's mapping largely has been pretty good, pretty accurate. So it's largely trustable. So the situation is quite bad. As mentioned in the previous SITREP, this area here, this is the river. Russian forces have taken basically all the position in the northern part of this river. This is a Vovcha river, and the Russian forces has raised the flag in the center, just north of the river. There's a high chance that the Russians actually have more control in this area here. Ukrainian forces might be defending on the southern part, because that's a sensible place to defend. And the Russian forces with all these geolocations just shows that the Russians have a very firm control in the north. We'll definitely continue to monitor. So far, there is no frontline change per se. We only have a Ukrainian mapping to reflect that they have disclaimed certain places, corroborating large part of the Russian mapping. So that's all for this Kharkiv front. There is, I think, the Russian Defense Ministry declared the capture of Buhruvatka. I forgot to mention. So the Russian Defense Ministry already said that. But in terms of mapping and everything, we do not have confirmation. They say that they captured it, but I said no. The most confirmation is going to come within the next 24 to 48 hours. So we'll continue to wait. But no, tentatively, it is considered captured by the Russian side. We just don't have the mapping to reflect this reality. So that's all from the Kharkiv Front. We move into the Kherson Front. At the Kherson Front, we have reports of fighting reported at Krinky, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. It's like a bad breakup. You know, one side decided to break up, the other side decided to, no, we are still together, and then it continued to pester us with fighting at Krinky, but the fact that nobody cares anymore. Yeah. So shelling is reported at Tykhe on the opposite shore of the Dnipro River, and there is more shelling also being reported. Also, there is reports of shelling over at Zolota Balka, as well as this location called Kapulivka. So here got Kaput and here got Zolota Balka. So we will see how this progress. All this shelling in these weird places continues to intrigue me. Moving on into the Zaporizhzhia Front. Over the Zaporizhzhia Front, the Russian forces are attacking over at Robotine region as well as Dorozyanka. So this is the two locations the Russian forces are attacking, but not much information to talk about. And we move on away from the Zaporizhzhia Front. Over at the Donetsk Front, there is still fighting reported in multiple locations. Russian forces attacking at Staromayoske, Uruzhaine, towards Vodian, towards Paraskovyevka, towards Georgievka, as well as Battle of Krasnohorivka is still ongoing. There is not much in terms of details to talk about in these various regions, except for Krasnohorivka. At the Battle of Krasnohorivka, we have the frontline change as mentioned previously. Otherwise, that's all from the Donetsk Front. We move on into the Avdiivka Front. So at the Avdiivka Front, on the southern flank of the Avdiivka Front, Russian forces continue to be putting pressure in the southern part of Pervomaiske. They are attacking at Netolove, clashing with the Ukrainian counterattacks, and Russian forces are attacking south of Umanske towards Yasnobrodivka. So we will continue to monitor this area. In the northern half of the Avdiivka Front, Russian forces are attacking in the western part of Cheretine towards Yevhenivka, attacking towards Novo-Alexandrivka, as well as on the outskirts of Kalinove. Ukrainian forces counterattack at Solovyove. So there is no frontline change, signifying either radio silence or the Ukrainians are really defending very well right now, or the Russians have lifted the intensity of the Avdiivka offensive. So let's wait and see how this develop. And that's all from the Avdiivka Front. We move into the Niu-York Front. At the Niu-York Front, there's only one news. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Ukrainian forces attack in the area of New York, but that's about it. Over at the Bakhmut Front. So in the southern flank of the Bakhmut Front, Russian forces are attacking at Klishchiivka. They're attacking in the southeastern part of Klishchiivka in the direction of where? Where's the report again? The Ukraine Defense Ministry mentioned in direction of Klishchiivka, but from the direction of Odradivka. So let's redraw the arrow. So Russian forces attacking at Klishchiivka, from Odradivka attacking towards Klishchiivka. This is according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They have a new guy doing the reports, so the report format has changed. They also changed the timing of the reports. Previously, it was 6 a.m., 6 p.m. Now they do 1 p.m., 7 p.m. Which is not bad. It's not that bad, So there is also fighting reported towards Bilohora, according to this new to this new military officer or specialist that's writing all these reports. So yeah, it's good to have some directions. So we move on to the northern flank. In the northern flank, the Russian forces are attacking in the area of Ivanivske. There's fighting reported at Novi and fighting reported at Kalinina. Geolocation south of Kalinina shows the Russian forces using thermobaric rockets, shelling the Ukrainian positions in the forest. So which is here. And then some frontline change as mentioned over in the southern part of Bodanivka, so signifying the Russians are continuing to make the push. I believe they're going to enter the forest and wreak havoc through the forest. So that's what I think they will do, and probably even hit into the rear of Kalinina. But let's see how this progress. That's all from the Bakhmut Front. At the Siversk Front, the Siversk offensive is still ongoing. we have the usual fighting at Bilohorivka, Vovchansk, Sperne, and Rozdolivka. There's something new. We have the fighting being reported at Ivano-Darivka. So this according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Unclear if it's coming from the north or northeast or coming from the south. So we just monitor and see how this progress. Moving into the Kreminna Front. At the Kreminna Front, we have let me see, I can zoom. No, the Russian forces attacking Tykhe, Ukrainians counterattack at Dniprova and Makiivka. So that's all from the Kreminna Front. And we move on. Over at the Svatove Front, there is a lot of things happening around here. Give me a second. Oh, sorry, YouTube called to say, putting one of my playlists on the main channel as a podcast, the DPA panels. So yeah, so I kind of like disorientated right now. Okay, Svatove Front. So this is Svatove, and Russian forces attack. There's a lot of actions around this area here. Russian forces attacking at Berestove, over at Stemakivka, Myasozarivka, as well as Andriivka, which is also known by another name called Rozivka. And so these are the Russians attack. Ukrainian forces are counterattacking at Stemakivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So this is the current situation over at Svatove. We will continue to monitor, but this looks very intense. Particularly, this looks like a one big massive arrow offensive because of the congregation of all the attacks in one region. So we will definitely continue to monitor. If we go by this direction, it looks like they are heading towards Lozova, and then actually towards Krylyalivka, and then Senkove is actually heading towards the crossing. So let's wait and see. They are looking at the crossing along the Oskil River. But of course, it's still a large distance away. We are talking about the distance of 17-18 kilometers. So it's still quite some distance. Over at the Kupyansk Front, Russian forces are attacking at Sinkivka, clashing with the Ukrainian forces. Russians attack at Ivanivka and Kaislivka. So this is the current strategic situation at Kupyansk. Nothing particularly to talk about. We will continue to monitor, and that's so one last thing is over at Sumy. There is a Lancet attack being located, destroying a Tunguska. Tunguska is actually an anti-aircraft vehicle. So yeah, who knows? There's a lot of rumors about a potential Sumy offensive. Not sure how real is this, but yeah, let's wait and see. Do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.